It's quite a common thing, stress in dogs, but quite often it goes missed, and people don't really notice it unless there is a build-up of stress and then there's a behaviour problem, which is then when I get called in. But usually there are quite a few signs leading up to that. So I'm going to give you some tips for things to help to reduce stress in dogs and puppies, so that if there are any underlying build-up in your dogs, you can reduce them without them building up to a point where there could be a problem. So dogs living in our world is quite stressful for them anyway, because it's not a dog world, it's a human world. They have to live in our house, they have to live by our rules and regulations, and safety things as well, so when we're out and about too, and it can be quite hard for them. So generally speaking with stress is as long as the dog is eating, drinking, going for walks and doing their usual daily things, we assume they're fine. And that is, usually because why wouldn't they be? That, a dog's a dog, dogs generally quite happy, and if they seem okay, then great. But there's a lot of things that like I say, that go missed, and that's on an individual basis. So my tips today are for helping you reduce any possibility of stress, and even if there is no stress, if your dog is a happy-go-lucky puppy, a dog, then they're just going to enjoy these changes anyway if you want to implement any of them. So some of them are fun anyway. So the first thing to talk about is enrichment activities. So enrichment activities are quite popular at the moment, and they're things to stimulate the brain and the senses as opposed to the body. That's what enrichment activities generally are for. And you can involve them with the body as well when you do exercise, but they work on different levels. So the best things for dogs for reducing stress and for releasing dopamine and serotonin are sniffing, licking, chewing, shredding and grooming, social kind of exercises, if your dog likes grooming. I will have to say that there. If your dog does not like grooming, then it is not going to be a dopamine, serotonin releasing activity for them. It's actually going to be more stressful and not very good. So if you are someone who provides your dog every day with enrichment toys, say like you do licky mats or snuffle mats or Kongs, if you do them every day and in the same way, they're no longer enriching activities. They're no longer mentally stimulating the dog in the way that they once did. So it becomes more the norm than it does enrichment and any kind of relaxing for them. So what you want to do instead is to vary how you do things. So for example, providing your dog every day with a licking activity, a chewing activity and a sniffing activity. That's what I recommend you do as a minimum. So with those, you could, if your dog is fed wet food or raw food, you can place it out on, plastic tub lids or Tupperware tub lids. You can put it on multiple ones of these and place them around the garden for the dog to go and hunt for and to go and find. You could smear them on licky mats or in Kongs and put them in different rooms. For sniffing activities, you can do you can do sniffy walks, which we'll talk about in a minute. Sniffy walks are good, but again, if your dog does sniffy walks every single day, then it's no longer giving that huge dopamine release. It just maintains it as opposed to gives a boost of it. But it's still good for them. Sniffing you can provide by doing scatter feeding in the garden. So that is where you take your dog's dry food or high value treats if your dog is not dry fed, and you walk into the garden and throw it. So the dog then has to go and hunt for it. Now, quite often, if your dog hasn't done this before, they will look at you like you are mental and you've just thrown away their dinner. But it is great for them to go and scavenge and hunt for food, because that is naturally it's why we have dogs today, is because they were the scavengers. So they really, really get a huge kick out of that. And quite often, dogs who have strong hunting instincts or like sniffing instincts, like your hounds and things, they really, really appreciate going out and doing some hunting for food. So you can do that, throw some stuff on the garden. You can do hiding food around your house even, so dry treats so it's not going to mess the carpet or anything, and you can hide them around the house, hide them around the garden, and then let the dog in or out to that area once you've done it, so they don't even know where they are. They've got to really hunt for them. That could be a really nice activity for dogs to do. With regards to chewing, chewing is really, really important. So if your dog is stressed, or you feel your dog is anxious, or anything at all, or even overexcited, this works really well for. Dogs carry stress in their TMJ, which is here. It's their, I can't say the great big long word, but I will share an article for you later. But their stress is held here. You know, like when we clench our jaw, if you're stressing, that's what dogs do. So if you provide them with something hard and long lasting to chew on, that ferocious chewing that they do, it helps relieve stress. So it releases their TMJ, and it actually allows them to relax. So for a lot of dogs, long-lasting chews can be yak chews, so your yak milk bars. They can be, if you have stag bars, they can be great, but obviously if they're around on the floor all the time, the dog might not be that interested in them all the time. So it can help to keep a couple of things either in the cupboard, or to smear something on it, like your cream cheese, pate, peanut butter, things like that, on the stag bar, and give it to them on a towel, so they can get encouraged to chew at it again. So that can be a great way of providing a stress relief for your dog. So some dogs love to chew, and they really like to grab hold of things and chew on them. So that could be a sign that the dog has a lot of stress. So yeah, you need to provide your dog with chewing, sniffing, licking. Now licking, some dogs lick obsessively with people, or they lick things obsessively, which can be a sign of gut trouble, so that there's an irritation in the gut. But licking is good for dogs for calming them down. It's a self-soothing activity. So if you provide your dog with licking outlets, quite often it can reduce their licking in other areas. If they lick you or lick things, or licking other dogs. Sometimes you've got a multi-dog household. You have dogs who will like lick the ears of others continuously, or like licking them clean, which is part of family, and scent orientated anyway. But if you provide them with licking activities, it can help to calm them down, help them to switch off and sleep. So again, licking can be your licky mats. Licky mats are great. They're a couple of pounds on Amazon if you don't have one. A lot of shops do sell them. If you don't want to buy one, you can just put it again on a Tupperware lid. You can smear some stuff on there and let the dog lick it. You want to supervise to begin with to make sure they don't then chew the licky mat or Tupperware lid afterwards. Some dogs are a little bit chomp happy, particularly puppies, if they don't know what to do with it. So once they've licked for a bit, they then start chewing. You can use other toys, like Kong toys, Conquest toys. They're great for licking as well. And like I said, if you're putting stuff on stag bars or long-lasting chews or any hard toys you may have, if you put things on that, then they often will lick that first before doing the ferocious chewing. So that's another outlet for them. And it is really important to give your dog these things regularly. Even if not daily, you want to do it as often as you can, because it is so good for them for relaxing and stress relief. The other one, as I said, is shredding. So shredding is another natural behaviour that for dogs that we often don't appreciate, because it's usually shredding of our things, or the post, or clothes and shoes and fabrics and things. And they, some dogs like to chew their beds up, so they will shred. So it's the act of shredding that it relieves them of stress. So that's where they like put their paws on something and they're like ripping up. That's shredding. Giving them an outlet for this again. So a great thing to do is cardboard boxes. Now, if you're looking to put your cardboard boxes in the recycling, or your cardboard tubes, or your egg boxes, anything like that, let the dog shred it up first. Give it to them. It's going in the pink sack for recycling, or white sacks as we have now. So let them shred it up, chew it up first into little bits, and then put it in the recycling bin. If it's going to go in the bin anyway, you might as well let the dog relieve some stress on it first. Another one is if you have a larger box, so cardboard box, you can put newspaper in there, and I recommend you do this in a box just because newspaper goes everywhere. So if the dog is shredding that, they generally goes all over the place. And putting some treats in there so they can snuffle around, so they can do sniffing, and then things in there for them to destroy as well and to rip apart. So, like I say, shredding is really, really stress relieving for dogs, and it's good fun, and it's also good for their muscles because of the pulling and the pushing down. It is very good for their muscles in their neck and their back and their legs. So it can act as a little bit of a workout too. Now, it's people often worry that if a dog's going to swallow cardboard or newspaper, it passes. The amount of cardboard that must have gone through my dogs, it doesn't do anything. They will pass it fine, unless your dog is prone to obstructions, like they have very, very tiny guts. Some dogs do. You will already know this because you will already have had a problem with it. That's tip number one. So providing them with things they can do which are natural to them. So we often forget about things that are natural for dogs and kind of just go with what works for us. But we need to provide them with naturally enriching activities and try and vary them as much as you can. As I said about grooming, some dogs absolutely love grooming. So the way of checking this is if you pick your brush up or your claw clippers up or your whatever it may be, your mitt for grooming the dog, and you go across the room to the opposite side to the dog, so you're not near them, and you sit down. If they come over and they're happy about it, they like grooming, they want it. If they stay away from you or you have to go to them, your dog's not so keen on it. So it's therefore not a nice activity for them. It's something that you will have to do some desensitising work to, which I've got videos for, which I'm building at the moment, a little library of those. But it is important that your dog enjoys the activity. It can be really, really good for them and very relaxing. But you want to make sure that they are happy to participate and that they're giving their consent, as we call it. So if they are happy for it, you will know because they'll come to you. So without you even having to call them. If you pick up the brush and you walk to the other side of the room and sit down and they come over, you know they want it. So give that a try. You can just do it with your hands as well. So if you haven't got grooming items because your dog has short fur, maybe like the sleeping one over here. I don't know if you can see him twitching and dreaming under his blanket. He doesn't need brushes really, but I do run my hands over him. Sometimes I put the rubber gloves on and then we'll like run my hands over, and he quite likes that. But again, he'll come to me for it. So just making sure the dog is happy coming over to you for it. So that, just check that I've got all of those in there. Training as well. So training can be a stress reliever for dogs and can be really enriching for them if they enjoy the training, if the training isn't frustrating for them. And the same goes for the enrichment toys. If you make them too difficult too soon, they're actually very frustrating for dogs, and they have the opposite effect. They don't calm them down, they make them more wound up. So for example, don't freeze them straight away on the first go. Kind of do them with easy to get out food to begin with, like your soft food. Put that in there to begin with, and then do putting it in the fridge, and then do putting it in the freezer for an hour, and then build up how long you have them in the freezer for. If you just start straight away with something from the freezer, the dog's probably not going to be that interested, and it's going to put them off wanting to interact with enrichment toys. So the same with training. You need to gradually build up how difficult something is for a dog to do. You want to set them up to get it right initially so that they enjoy it and that they want to participate in the training and that they're very happy and enthusiastic about it. And then you build up how difficult things are with your 3Ds. So your 3Ds are duration, distance and distraction. So you need to build these three up separately, individually and gradually, and then put them together. So starting in the house is great because there's minimal distraction, there's not much distance you can cover, so its duration is what you generally tend to go for in the house. So training can be great for the dog, practicing things that they know. And the way you can tell if a dog knows something is if you say the word once in a normal tone of voice as you would speak to someone, and they do it, they know it. Or if you do your hand lure once and that's the lure you use and they do it, they know it. If you have to say it more than once, or you have to do your action more than once, or you have to lean forward or raise a voice or anything at all, they don't actually know what it means. What they're doing is trying different things to see what's going to make them get the food, but they don't actually understand what you're saying. So that could be a good starting point, just testing all your cue words that you ask your dog. So you sit, down, stay, leave, stand, whatever, tug, let go. Practice all of these and see how many times you usually will say the word to them before they listen, and see if they know what you're talking about. Moving on, so that's your first tip. Moving on to your second tip is part of the grooming, part of the handling part, and it's called the 3-second rule. Now, some of you who've done any behaviour work with me before will know what the 3-second rule is, and if you've had bitey puppies, you will know what the 3-second rule is, because it's what I use so often because it works really well. So the 3-second rule is really helpful for giving your dog a voice and a choice. So it allows them to come to you when they want fuss, and it allows them an exit route when they're done. So many dogs have such pent up stress and frustration because we just sit there all day stroking them and touching them and cuddling them and kissing them and loving them. And because that's why we get a dog. We get a dog because we want to have that love and that affection and that nice relationship where you can just pick them up and put them on your lap, or if you've got a big one that you can, you know, hug them when you want to. But it's not really quite often what the dog wants. So it can cause frustration. Now, they might sit and tolerate it, and they might go, oh, she's at it again, here we go, touching me again. But it doesn't mean that they're happy about it, and it can cause this mild, ongoing stress that is always there. So, 3-second rule actually can encourage your dog to be more affectionate if they currently aren't really. And the 3-second rule, like I say, it gives them an option for leaving if they want to. So, what you do is you wait for your dog to come to you. All fuss and affection and love comes when your dog comes to you. So you don't go to them to fuss them, even when you come home from work or when you're sat on the sofa or in any circumstance. You wait for them to come to you. When they come to you, you stroke the bit on their body that they offer you. So it might be their chest, it may be their side. My Labrador used to love his back end being scratched. So that was his hips because he had hip trouble. So he used to really like this. So you stroke that bit of the body the dog gives you. If they're moving as you're stroking, just keep your hand still and let them put it where they want it to be. Dogs are quite good at that. And you stroke for 3 seconds, then take your hand off. Now, if your dog comes in and goes, oh, I want more of that, you know, and they're really flirty and they're really like pushing for more, it's very obvious. Dogs aren't that subtle. So if they want more, you go again. And it's like, okay, this is great, we can go again. If they walk away or they just stand there, they're probably done. So just let them go. And that is a brilliant, brilliant way of knowing how much your dog wants fuss, when they want fuss, and what parts of the body they really like it on. It's a great relationship building thing. I do it particularly a lot with any foster dogs who we've had previously, any dogs I've adopted. I don't go to them ever. I let them come to me. I let them choose when they want the fuss, when they're done with the fuss, and how long they want it for and where they want it on their body. And that is a really, really safe way of, especially with an unknown dog, making sure that they are completely happy. And you will also note there'll be places where your dog will avoid giving you. Maybe ears. Sometimes ears are sore, ears are prone to infection, they're prone to cuts because they get caught on things. And to be honest, dogs with like erect ears, it's quite uncomfortable if they're pushed down or if they're moved. So quite often they will avoid giving you their head. A lot of dogs will avoid giving you their head. They want you to touch their body instead. So it does reduce stress, it reduces frustration, it gives the control back to the dog again. So rather than, you know, picking them up and putting them on our lap or like hugging them and going towards them, it gives them that bit of control. It's great for grooming as well, building up the grooming, and if you're doing husbandry things. So husbandry is like your grooming, your claw clipping, your eye checking, your ear drops, things like that. So again, I'm building my library up for this too, to help you, video library to share with you, because so many dogs don't like it, and they really, really don't. And the main reason why a lot of dogs don't like it, it's not often pain, it's they lose the ability to move away. They lose all their choices and they get held onto, and they just have to deal with it, and that is what they dislike the most about it. So when you give them a choice and an option and a way of enjoying it, they actually start to really enjoy grooming and handling sessions. So it just makes your life and the vet's life and the groomer's life so much easier. So my third tip for you is, it's called fishbowl effect. Now again, if anyone's done any behaviour work with me, you'll be familiar with the fishbowl effect. Fishbowl effect I learnt about through Pudgy, my Springer Spaniel. He's the reason I'm a dog behaviourist, and why I care so much about dogs and how things impact them. So he was a little psycho, bless him. Oh, I did love him, but he was a psycho, and he had so many issues. But I worked with Dr. John Bowen at the RVC because I needed help with Pudge, and I was learning at the time as well, and he is the one who taught me about the fishbowl effect. So what it was, the reason I needed to know about this was because Pudge would randomly attack's a harsh word, used to randomly bite people on walks, really randomly. And I couldn't figure a pattern to it. So quite often it would be a lady with blonde hair. Sometimes it would be a man with a hat. And they weren't particularly close to me. Sometimes they were far away, sometimes they were close. Same with him. It didn't matter where we were. There was lots and lots of weird and random factors to it. Now, other than my horrifically poor management of it, because as you may have noticed, I just said he used to bite a lot of people. That means there's a huge fault here, because I wasn't managing it well, putting the lead on, doing muzzle stuff, etc. Because I didn't know that much then. But I do now. And what he was actually doing was he was laying across the back of my sofa and watching out the window all day. And he was quite happy up there. He wasn't reacting at the window. It wasn't like a barking or lunging or anything. But he would just watch all day. And I thought, oh, he's people watching. You know, obviously he likes watching people. He doesn't like them too much, but he likes to watch them. And it turned out the people he was going for were the kind of people who had passed the house. So Dr. John Bowen said to me, sit and watch what he watches. And sure enough, people would go past, and they would be the kind of people he'd target on the walks. So he said what it is, it's called the fishbowl effect, because to dogs, it's like someone is circling the house. It looks like people or dogs, if dogs are their stressor, are circling the house, and it makes them paranoid. So if you have a dog who already has anxiety, who's already stressed, and they're watching out of windows, to them, these people or these dogs are circling the house. And they're absolutely, could well be a threat to your dog in your dog's mind. So there's ways of dealing with this, really, really easy. For Pudge, I just didn't let him down the back of the sofa anymore. There you go. And then he stopped doing it. But for other dogs, it's not quite as simple as that. Some are quite more persistent about it. And some dogs are, they're barking out the window every time a dog or a cat or a certain something goes past. Well, anything that gets practiced gets stronger. So good things and bad things, training and behavioural things. So if your dog is practicing getting stressed at looking out of the window all day or barking when things go past, that's what's getting better and stronger, and they're getting quicker at predicting when it's going to happen, and it gets more intense. So it's actually not helpful for them, and it's incredibly stressful for them to look out of the window. Some dogs who are completely not stressed, not bothered, really social, really confident, they can lay and look out the window. That's fine, because that is not who I'm talking about here. Those kind of dogs, you can lay and look out the window all you like. They probably enjoy it. It's probably like TV. But for a lot of dogs, it is very, very stressful for them. And that's because it's them living in a human world, and they don't often understand it. With the fishbowl effect, there's a few things you can do. So the first one is don't have the dog have access to the room when you're not in there. So they're in there when you are, but they're not in there looking out the window all day. So they get a bit of a break from it. So there's times where they look out the window, but not all day long, and practicing staring and getting paranoid all day long. The other thing you can do, which is really, really easy, and I actually had to do this with my Shepherd Cross Mastiff, Missy, she was very, very territorial, incredibly reactive, very paranoid, very anxious, very aggressive. We actually put up sticky film. So, from B&Q, you get frosted film, and you literally peel it on, peel it off. Doesn't mark, doesn't stain, doesn't stick. It's fantastic. And I just put it on the lower part of the windows. So I can see out, we still get daylight in, we can see what's going on, but the dog can't. So that is a really, really quick and easy way of making the dog less stressed and making a quieter household in our case, because she was very loud and would run up and down the front room barking and at herself and going completely mental. So that helped a huge amount with her. The third thing you can do is you can sit with the dog, and when they're watching out the window, when a dog or person goes past, you throw food for them. So you just throw a treat every time someone goes past, and it changes their association of someone being there. So someone appearing predicts good things rather than paranoia and stress, or a dog going past rather than making them frustrated and overexcited that they could see a dog but they can't get to it to play with it. You throw a treat and it gives them an alternative thing to do, which is then sniffing for the treat, looking for a treat, which are, again, dopamine and serotonin releasing behaviours for a dog to do. So you can work with them to make sure they're not doing it. But you have to you know, you have to be aware, you have to watch what they're doing, you have to know what is upsetting them, if it is. But it's such a common thing, so common. So that fishbowl effect is probably one of, you can almost guarantee that the dogs I work with behaviour, who react at dogs or people or cats, I mean cats are a huge one, cats are a pain, because they enjoy antagonising, so they just lay there in front of the window like, oh, I'm a cat. But with dogs and people, I can almost guarantee that dogs who react to them or have some stresses around them in their everyday life will be window watchers, and they will be or TV watchers. Now there is a huge increase in the amount of dogs who react to TV programmes, animals on TV or people on TV, dogs on TV, and that is because our TVs are getting so good nowadays. They are so clear and, you know, brilliant that they actually look like dogs and animals to our dogs as well. So the fact they can watch the TV and think that it is there in their house suddenly it's crazy, but it is really stressful for them, because all of a sudden the dog appears in their house. Well, if you have a dog who doesn't like dogs, that's really stressful. So again, giving them breaks from the TV can be helpful, making sure it's not on all day, or if it is, it's on something that's not going to antagonise them, something that doesn't bother them or upset them as much. And then when it is something that you know is going to bother them, then using your treat game again, like I said, so throwing treats when they see it, that can help reduce stress. So my final tip of today, follow the dog. Now, follow the dog, it sounds quite an obvious thing, but you'd be amazed the amount of dogs who don't get to choose their own walks, or who don't get to choose what they do on their walk. Now, it is their walk. That is what you go out for, is to walk the dog, because the dog needs to go out. So what I want you to try, if you don't already, is doing follow the dog's nose. So whether your dog is on lead or off lead or on a long line, it doesn't matter. You can choose new locations, because that makes it even more enriching. Again, like we said before in tip 1 for the enrichment, new places are more enriching than the same place. New smells, new dogs, new sights, all much more enriching than the same thing over and over again. But wherever you go, just follow the dog. If they stop to sniff, stand with them. Just wait and be there with them, let them sniff. Wherever their nose goes, wear your wellies, because it's a bit horrible weather at the moment. Wear your wellies and follow them. So wherever they go, you go. Wherever they stop, you stop. And if they want to choose a different route, or if they want to retrace the steps they did, do that. So I've got a live video coming up soon, which is going to help you with the other way, because I know there are a lot of people in this group who do this religiously. They do follow the dog, they follow the dog's nose, and there's a couple of these dogs who, let's say, take advantage of this now to a point where they now will not walk where you want to walk. So they're the other way. So I'm going to do a live chat soon for tips on this, because we want to have it as a mutual walk where it's not just fully dictated by either owner or dog. So it is more of an enjoyable walk that you can do together. But if you don't already, just follow your dog's nose. Wherever they go, you go. If they stop, you stop. And see where they take you, and that can help with so much dopamine going into the dog's body. It actively relaxes their body and can calm them down and reduce stress, and it can improve social skills as well, as it does with a lot of dogs.